Hey, what's up? Welcome to the first iconic, cool episode of Origins. Today we are doing Eddie Van Halen. Hope you guys are doing well. Thank you for watching this. This is the first of a few that I'm going to be doing. The iconic Eruption guitar. Like, wow, how more of a... my words are speechless, man. Big shout out to Eddie Van Halen, and a big shout out to Fender for continuing the dream, and of course everything that's possible with what's happening with these, the century of guitar playing and keeping the shred alive and everything else. And it's cool to have this in my hands. It is like you could feel it just emanating. It's so cool. Yeah. So where did this all start? Of course, where did it all start? The Frankenstein of the guitars. The legend of Eddie Van Halen, the most biblical guitar we can think of that just stands out and goes pop. It's there, right? So Eddie, way back in the day when he started playing, he was going through different guitars, and he liked the Fender Strat for the body style, and he liked the Gibson for the double humbuckers, and for an iconic guitar player, he started taking stuff apart at a young age. How does it work, and how does it, what makes it tick, kind of thing, which is really cool because a lot of us don't do that. We just buy a guitar and off we go, kind of thing. So in the 70s, he would do that, and he ended up going to, there's a really cool biography, I'll put a link up here, on the Charvel guitars and the boogie bodies, right, kind of thing, that was in California. So Eddie would frequently go there, and he'd buy B-sides, which is, woods with a chunk of a knot in it, or just not to perfection, and, not a standard that they would do, and they would sell to the normal public. So he'd go there and he'd buy the necks and the bodies, and from there he just kind of put stuff together. And over the years he would kind of evolve. So there was once where he took the humbucker out of his Les Paul and then slammed it into this sucker, and then with that, a black vinyl piece of plastic he cut out and formed some sort of a pick guard, right? And back then they didn't have the Floyd Roses right away, so he had the standard, tremolo, which would always go out of tune. And he always mentioned that, so he asked, he added like the brass. He just talking and learning from people. Add the brass nut in the front, it would kind of help with the tuning capabilities and not go out of tune. And there is a photo of him using the first rendition of this, which is, I believe it's the guitar. I'm trying to find out, that he got from Charvel. And it's a quick little photo of him playing it live. And you can see that some of the bodies there and everything else. So there's an earlier one with some of the stripes already on it as well. And he had the single coil pickups in it. So evolvement of how it just, the timeline kind of follows itself. So there's a couple different stories. Number one is the one that Roth kind of mentioned, that he says he created the stripes with Alex, kind of going over to Eddie, and then Eddie wanted to create something different. So Roth is like, put some tape around it, add some stripes. So there are some earlier photos that I found that's on that. And then Roth, basically said, try some tape, but obviously over doing a couple of shows, the sweat and everything else, the tape would come off. So at what point did he go to the actual painting? What year? We're thinking around 79. Became the iconic colors of black and white. It started this whole thing, right? This sucker. And there are a few photos where he started kind of doing around the March kind of thing. There is another fantastic little story that I found out from his childhood friend, Wally Cartoon Olney, that he says they were getting ready to play a large festival in California. And it was the California World Music Festival in 79. So at that point, he'd already had the black and white, and this was just the first step going to the red, right? So Wally says he kind of dropped by the house a little bit, and Eddie was in the backyard with his dog, and he was painting up this guitar, the second level, which is the red. And Wally said, "What are you doing?" And Eddie was all pissed off. He's like, "Man, I'm tired of people copying me, and I'm pissed off. And the festival's coming up, and it's probably not going to sell out because this was the first year for the Long Beach Grand Prix." So that added on to that. It was a 2-day festival with tons of bands. So they were on the second night, and so Eddie was frustrated because all the shows that he'd gone to after that, people were comping his guitar. They're already finishing off the album, the second album, stuff like that. So they've already become sort of at that level of pretty freaking quick for an iconic stadium touring band already. But they had already broken a lot of grounds. So he was at that point. It was 1979. I think he mentioned around April or May, that he was painting this thing to the second level a few days before the concert. And there are a few shots that I'll include in this that he was at that show. So going back, how he started all, he had various necks and various bodies around the house. So there might have been 3 or 4 different versions of this kicking around in his basement as he was building them. But of course, it kind of stuck to this one. This is the one that has been picked up. This is the one that transfers from the black and the white to the black, white, and red that you see today, the Frankenstein. So, it's very cool how where we think back and we go, wow, this is so simple. We could have done this, but he's the forefront. He's the one who started it all. So around that time of 78, 79 is where it kind of blew up from there. Not to forget, also, he had his 1970s Destroyer. I've been his Destroyer, again, lawsuit for Gibson. So 1970 Destroyer, which he picked up in 77. And it was a natural-bodied guitar, which later became the Shark, right? So he had that, and that's what he recorded for session work for the debut album. Yes, the debut album. And the guitar was really like a natural body finish on that. So he basically chopped it up, did the whole black and the white and the red after, watching this thing. So again, if he got this in 77, this is a few years before he did this. So maybe it all started, of course it did, it all started with the Shark, which we all seen. But he didn't use that guitar as much until he got these, right? Same idea, and the puzzle kind of slowly fits together everything else. But that's it, man. That's the originality, and that's how simple it went from A to B to C, and then the red and black and white. Right? Absolutely. Fantastic. So, that's it. That's how we got this iconic guitar, which is now a staple in everyone's bedroom, hanging on the wall, or a poster, or a CD cover, or a photo. That we're always searching of how Eddie got to that. So there you go. Started in 1977, moved on up to 79. The Frankenstein, the iconic eruption guitar. There you go. Hope you enjoyed it. Teach your kids, man. Keeping the shred alive. See ya. Subscribe, man. Don't forget. All right. Love you guys.